now you should be able to hear me. 1, 2, 3. Yes. All right. So sorry about that before you weren't able to hear me. So let me just repeat that. For this particular YouTube Live, we are going to be doing this a little differently than we usually do. It's going to be more webinar style, instructional. But I will leave some time towards the end or before the end to answer any questions that you may have. So first, let me just make sure that you can hear me now. So go ahead and if you're able, type into the chat box, yes, you can hear me. That would be helpful. And I'll take a look at that. But you should be able to hear me fine. So we'll be getting started in just a minute or so. So as you probably already know, which is why you're here, uh, most of you anyway, unless you just saw this pop up on YouTube, if you're watching this as a replay, then you will know that today we're going to be talking about how you can get 80% plus of your results. That is from working on your speech, right? You want to start speaking smoothly, clearly, confidently. You want to be able to say what you want to say. I found over the last decade plus that my clients and students can get often 80% plus of their results from learning and developing this one habit. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. This one habit that can get you 80% or more of your results. All right. So we're going to get started, and I'm just going to run through essentially the questions that I posed in the promotion for this particular webinar. So if you're able, go ahead and rewatch this webinar. If you can, jot down some notes, okay, because there's going to be some very important things here that are key and are also very, very true. Very, very true. So the first thing that you probably want to know is, what is this powerful habit? What habit are we talking about? So the habit that we're referring to is, believe it or not, something that you may have been told, slowing down. But we're going to break this down and talk about what this actually means, because there's a couple of elements involved in this. So all the things, airflow, breathing, and rhythm, and all of that, I found that the one habit, you can call it a skill too, the one habit that gives you the biggest bang for your buck is that of slowing down. Okay, slowing down. So what do we mean, or what do I mean when I say slowing down? When I say slowing down, I'm talking about not just slowing down, but also learning to relax. Relax, slow down, and take your time. So we could say that we're talking about relax, slow down, and take your time. Now, this is an important one here. So a component of slowing down is also learning to take your time or not rush. So sometimes a person doesn't really speak that fast, right? And so they don't really need to slow their speech down per se. But what they do need to do is learn how to take their time. So sometimes people feel rushed, like they have to hurry up, they have to get through it. In certain speaking situations, my clients have told me that they feel like they have to hurry up. Drive through, right? Or you're ordering something, or you're in a meeting and your boss or everyone else around you is speaking fast and they're jumping in. So then you automatically would feel like you have to rush, like you have to hurry up. Or somebody that you may be talking to, if you don't say what you need to say, then they'll jump in, they'll cut you off, or they'll speak for you. So there are lots of speaking situations where people feel like they have to rush, right? They have to rush. Okay. So basically what we're trying to do is to counter this propensity to rush. Okay. Now, so when we say slow down, yes, for many people, we are talking about slowing their speech down, right? Slowing the rate in which they are speaking, okay, their speed, their cadence. And for others, we're not just talking about them slowing their speech down, we're also talking about them learning to take their time. Okay, take your time, right? We're talking about them learning to take their time and learning to relax. A lot of this has to do with breathing. It also has to do with self-talk. We'll talk a little bit about that today. But one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to answer this question: why is it that slowing down can give you 80% or more of your benefits, right? Why? Why? So what are the benefits of slowing down? And why do those benefits give you 80% or more of your progress or your results? So let's answer that question. So now that you have an idea of what I'm talking about when I say slow down, yes, we are talking about slowing the speed, the rate, the cadence of your speech down in many cases. And there are some reasons why people don't do that. We'll talk about that. That's very important to know. Even if you want to do it, why is it that it's so difficult to do it? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk right now, though, about the benefits of doing it, why it can give you those results. So we're talking about then learning to take your time, also learning to actually slow the rate of your speed down, and learning to relax. We won't spend as much time on relaxing today, but I did want you to know that's a part of it, and you're going to see that as one of the benefits. So let's look at exactly why is it that slowing down your speech can give you 80% or more. So one of the first reasons is that, believe it or not, you become or you feel more, we just talked about this, relaxed, believe it or not. So someone says, well, Michael, how is it that if I slow my speech down, I feel more relaxed? Well, it's like magic. When you slow your speech down and you make sure that you're moving the way that I'm moving now, even in a conversation, I move my hands, I'm moving, but I'm not moving fast, right? You slow your speech down. One of the things that happens is you start to feel more relaxed. You don't feel as rushed, right? You don't feel as rushed. You start feeling a bit more relaxed. One of the things that I share with my clients, especially when they have interviews or presentations, is when you start, you want to start almost super slow. Your first several words, your first minute or so, start super slow. Because when you start super slow, you give yourself time to relax. You know that there are times when you have a meeting or a presentation or something, and what begins to happen is that your heart starts to beat, right? Your heart is beating and you feel like you're out of control. But when you start slow, especially super slow in some cases, you actually start to feel more relaxed. You feel your heart rate slow down. So that's one benefit. One that's closely related is this. You have more control. Okay. You have more control. So when you slow your speech down, these are the benefits. And these are the reasons why you can get 80% or more. I mean, I see it. I see it happen all the time. Remember, I've been doing this for a decade. You have more control over your speech. So when you slow your speech down, you have more control. What does that mean? That means if you get stuck, if you stumble over your words, if you're not able to say things, if you run out of breath, just by learning to slow your speech down, you gain more control. You gain more control. Now, there's a point at which when you're going too slow, you kind of lose control, right? Uh, like a boat, a jet boat. Okay. Driving a jet boat, if you go too slow, you lose control, or a jet ski. So you have to go a certain speed in order to have control. And there are times where by going a little faster, you can gain even greater control. But by speaking fast the entire time, you often lose control. You don't have control, or at least you don't feel like you have control. And if there's a difficult word that's coming, often you won't even see it. You don't see it because you're moving too fast. That's why I would say speed kills. You're moving too fast. You can't see it, or if you do see it, you can't do anything about it because you're just speaking too fast. So when you slow your speech down, you're able to, when difficult words are coming, and you're able to get control of that. Okay, does that make sense? You're able to get control, you're able to pause, to stop, to use a tool when you need to use a tool, right? So you just have greater control. Now, what's another reason or another benefit? Believe it or not, some people don't believe this, but for many people it's true. So you don't really have to believe it. Just understand that it's true for many people, if not most, if not almost all. That when you slow your speech down, and we're going to kind of redefine again what we mean by slowing down, because I don't want people to think I'm talking about dragging your speech out. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. But when you slow your speech down, what I found from my clients is that they're able to think more clearly, right? You slow everything down, they can now access their thinking brain, they can access their memory. So you may know exactly what you want to say, you may have prepared for it. All of a sudden, you're in a higher pressure speaking situation, your mind gets cloudy. You can't access information that you already have, that you already know. When you slow your speech down and you start feeling more in control and relaxed, you also tend to feel a little bit more confident. You can then access information that you have. Okay. So you can think more clearly. Therefore, you can articulate your thoughts more clearly when you take your time, when you slow down. This is absolutely true for many people, if not most people. Now, let's go back just a little bit and talk about what we mean when we say slow your speech down. Some people would think that I'm saying to speak like this, or speak super slow all the time, or speak monotone, or speak with no energy. You don't even have to speak at my rate. Some people think I speak slow, but then when they try to model me, they say, "You're not speaking slow at all." What I'm doing is I'm speaking dynamically. I'm changing the rate of my speech, of my speed, changing the rate. Sometimes I'm going slow and sometimes I'm going fast, right? That's what we call dynamic speech. I'm modulating my voice. And there are other people who do it differently. They speak even faster, they modulate their voice even more. That's perfectly fine. The point is that I'm not talking about speaking at a steady rate the whole time, with no modulation or inflections, right? And dragging your words out. We're not talking about that's not what Pro 90D is about. Pro 90D is about helping you speak dynamically, but for many people, that means pulling them over to the slower side of speech, right? To the slower side of speech, and then helping them speak dynamically. So I have clients who just their pacing is just fast. It's part of their personality, their energy, and so forth. That's fine. But what we have to do is pull them over to the slower side of things, help them get control, feel more relaxed, speak smoother, have them speak dynamically. And at some point, when their speaking style has been changed, they've smoothed out their speech, their identity has changed, they see themselves as a smooth speaker, they can actually speed up again, right? Maybe not to where they were, where they didn't have any control, but they can actually speed up again because it fits and matches their personality, right? And their speaking style, even their community. That's perfectly fine. As long as your speech is clear, people can understand it. When you're speaking so fast that people can't understand it, then you're defeating the purpose of speaking, right? So what we have to do is make sure that when you're speaking in a way that's clear. Okay. So if you're speaking fast and people can understand it, it's not clear. If you're speaking too slow and people are falling asleep, then it's not going to be clear either. The words might be clear, but because people are drifting off, they're not going to receive and understand what you're saying. So clarity is very important, right? So making sure that when you speak fast, you also are able to think more clearly. And then finally, you have access to more tools or to your tools. Now, what do we mean by that? What we mean is when you slow your speech down, you're able to be aware and to access any tools that you may have in your toolkit to help you speak smoother. So Pro 90D will give you a tool set, will give you some techniques that if and when you get stuck, because everyone stumbles over their speech, everyone gets stuck from time to time, then you have these tools that you can reach in and pull out and use and then put them back and keep speaking smoothly. Does this make sense? So it's important to be able to have access. And the reason why I'm saying have access is that we've had many people who, when they're in the moment, they're speaking fast, they forget about the tools, right? They don't even have access to them. When you slow it down, you say, "Oh, I can do this. Oh, here comes a word I might get stuck on. I can do this instead." Right? So you're able to think more clearly, and you're able to access more of your tools when you need them. When you need them. And we're not saying that you're going to be reliant upon or dependent upon tools, right, the whole time that you're speaking. But when you need them, you want them to be there. All right. So these are some of the benefits of uh, speaking slower, right? Relaxing, slowing down, taking your time. These are some of the benefits, and these are huge benefits. And just by doing this one thing, now someone can say, "Well, slow down, slow down." You say, "Okay, I know I need to slow down. How do I slow down?" We're going to talk about that. But just knowing that you need to slow down or someone telling you that you need to slow down isn't enough. You need to know how to slow down. That's what Pro 90D does for you. Is it shows you how to do it over time. But these benefits are going to give you 80% plus more. So that is, a person can be struggling with their speech, pushing out words, or not speaking clearly, or feeling anxious, or feeling rushed. And just by slowing down, most of that can go away. Most of that can go in. They can immediately start to feel more confident, feel more in control, feel more relaxed, not anticipate as much, right? Just by learning to slow down. So it's not enough to know that you need to slow down, but it's how do you slow down? So let's talk now, not quite yet about how, but we're going to talk about some of the challenges, right? Some of the challenges. It's like, why is it that when someone knows they need to slow down, it seems like they can't? So let's talk about three. One of them has to do with habit. The other is external pressure. And then the other one has to do with false beliefs. Okay, so let's talk about these three. So, why is it that people don't slow down? Now, the reason that this webinar is so important is I'm telling you, from thousands of hours of working with people one on one for over a decade, and tens of thousands of students getting feedback and so forth. Someone has asked me before, what's the one thing that helps people the most? It's slowing down. So some, well, yeah, I've heard that before. Speech therapist told me, my mom's told me, everybody, but that can't be it. That can't be it. Trust me. I'm not saying that's the only thing, right? It's not the only thing usually, but it's if you were to ask me, it's the one thing that can give you the most results the fastest. Okay. So please make sure you're tuned into this. Sometimes people are looking for all kinds of tricks and tips and strategies and doing this and breathing and all that's important, and affirmations and visualizations and all that. It's all important. We teach all of it. But if you want to know the one thing that even allows them to do those other things, it's slowing down. And that's why this is so critical that you follow and don't just say, oh, no, I've heard that before, whatever. Even if you've heard it before, listen to it again. So one reason that people don't do it, well, that's so difficult, is because of habit. Okay, habit. So once you develop a habit, what that means is that your brain has developed uh, neuronal connections, right? And your neurons have wired together, they're communicating with each other, and the neurons that are responsible, right, or the neural network in your brain and different parts of your brain that's responsible for your communication, your verbal communication, what they've done is they've wired together in a way that is represented by or displays itself as fast speech. So it becomes a habit. It's something you do that you don't have to think about. But what that also means is it's something that's very difficult for you to not do because it's automatic. Remember, habits are generally good for us because it allows our brain to focus on other more important things or other things, right? If your brain had to think about consciously everything, you would be overwhelmed. You wouldn't be able to do it. So there's certain things that you don't have to think about that you and I do automatically, and that's a good thing, right? That's generally controlled by our basal ganglia, right? Little gang of nerves that generally control habits and so forth. So habit controls um, and determines kind of how people behave. And in this case, we're talking about your speech. So when you're speaking fast, it's often a habit, something that you grew up with, the people around you, and you did it because that's the way that you learned how to speak. So in order to change that habit, we will actually give you a couple of steps in just a little bit. We'll give you some daily steps that you can take, help you change those habits. But you have to understand it's a habit. So you can't just say, I'm going to slow down, or someone can't just tell you, slow down, right? You need to know what it looks like and feels like to slow down. Then you need to know how you can slow down on a regular basis. So it's habit, which is one reason. So you feel that resistance. You want to slow down, but you feel like you can. You want to slow down, but you don't. You slow down a little bit, then you go right back. It's habit. Another reason is external pressure. Everyone around you may be speaking fast. Your family members, your coworkers, your culture, right? Maybe everyone around you speaking fast. So you have that external pressure that actually makes you feel like you can't, right? Because other people are almost encouraging you, even if they don't do it verbally, they're encouraging you through their actions or inactions to continue to speak fast. In fact, I've had clients say that their family or friends or coworkers says, wow, you're speaking slower, or why are you speaking slower, right? Now, eventually they become accustomed to that, because if they become accustomed to a person struggling with their speech in whatever way, it's just kind of normal for them to see this person struggle. So they become accustomed to it. They'll become accustomed to you speaking smoother and clearer and more confidently, even though it's slower. They'll become accustomed. So you have to look at the fact that there are external pressures that often make it difficult for people or even prevent them from slowing their speech down, because they see people around them speaking slower, or someone says something to them. Why are you speaking differently? Why are you speaking like that? Why are you speaking slow? Is there something wrong with you? I've heard all these things. So then you start to feel like an outcast. You start to, well, maybe I won't slow down. Okay. So that's another reason. Another reason is false beliefs. Yeah, this is kind of related to the second one, but if you believe that slowing down makes you sound less intelligent, that slowing down people will not wait for you or listen to you, slowing down people will cut you off and speak over you. Right? These are just some of the beliefs. That slowing down feels weird and it will continue to feel weird. It just feels too strange, too uncomfortable, and it will continue to feel that way. Those are actually false beliefs. I'm not saying that some of those things won't be true from time to time, but they're false beliefs. I know this again because of experience, not just my own, but others. There are many people who are super intelligent. They're at the top of their game, or the president of the company or whatever, and they take their time. And when they speak, people listen. Now, they didn't just start speaking that way when they got there. They spoke that way, and that's part of the reason that they got to where they are now. They take their time, and when they speak in such a way that people listen. They speak dynamically, but they don't necessarily speak fast. Yes, there are very, very many successful people that speak really fast too. But there are also just as many who take their time and speak slowly. So the belief that you will appear less intelligent if you take your time is a false belief, because you already know that you're very intelligent. If you slow your speech down, you're not going to be less intelligent. You're actually going to sound, depending on how you speak, more intelligent, because you'll be able to be more precise, more concise, more accurate, right? You'll be able to say the things you want to say when you want to say them, which makes you sound more intelligent, as opposed to not being concise, using a whole bunch of extraneous words, not being able to say what you want to say. That sounds less intelligent. Okay, so I hope that that makes sense, right? So you have to be able to take your time and understand and believe that, hey, by slowing my speech down, and remember, we're not talking about dragging or speaking monotonous, we're talking about speaking dynamically, which is a combination of fast and slow. We're talking about modulating your voice so that when you speak, people listen, but it's not so fast that you don't have control. You don't feel relaxed. People can't understand what you're saying. Right? You're speaking dynamically. When you speak that way, then you will sound just as intelligent, if not more. Okay. So, three kind of challenges that either prevent people or slow them down from slowing their speech down is just habits, just plain old habit, right? So, you have to create a new habit that overwrites that old one. Another one is external pressure, the people around you, the culture. You see people, you hear people speaking fast. You tend to want to speak fast, right? Call these the workings of the mirror neurons. When you observe people doing something that you're familiar with, those neurons in your brain that control that behavior, that activity, they begin to light up and fire. And you kind of want to do that too. Happens to me. I'm around a good friend of mine. He's speaking fast. I feel like I want to speak fast. Sometimes I do speak faster just to kind of push myself. So, okay, let me see how fast I can speak without losing clarity. So it's kind of fun. But you'll feel that draw when you're with someone who's speaking fast. You want to speed up. Some of you are watching this video and you're going, yep, that's true. But you have to do what I call create your own aura, and you have to learn to slow yourself down. And what you'll find sometimes is when you're speaking smoothly, you're speaking dynamically, right? You'll find that people say, "Wow, when I'm around you, I'm so much more relaxed. I feel more relaxed." Some people will actually slow their speech down to match yours because you've created an aura that's magnetic. So you start drawing people in as opposed to you being drawn into their energy and their speed, right? Their dynamic. You're drawing them into yours. This is what you want to do. This is what you have to do if you want to get control over your speech. You want to speak smoothly. You want to be relaxed. Okay. So these are the three things. Now, the next thing that we're going to look at is the how, right? All right, so I'm going to be kind of flipping back and forth here. Let's talk about the how. So how can you slow your speech down? So one is you have to set the intention, right? You have to set the intention. We'll talk about this next one in a minute. Awareness. Set the intention. So you have to kind of set a goal and say, all right, I know that I need to slow my speech down some, right? I need to speak dynamically, but we're talking about slowing down. I need to slow my speech. So you set that as an intention. So if you haven't or you don't set it as an intention, then you're more than likely not going to do it. So you have to set that as you have to intend to slow your speech down. And this has to be something that you intend to do every day, all day, not just in an important meeting, because it's not going to work because of habit, right? So you have to set the intention to work on your speed, to slow yourself down every day, all day, every conversation, especially earlier in the day when you have more mental capacity, mental bandwidth. Later in the day, you're going to be more tired generally. So you're not going to have as much bandwidth or motivation or discipline to slow your speech because it's going to require mental effort and physical energy. So do it during the day as much as you can, and you'll start to see it expand into the rest of your day. Okay. So you set the intention. Second thing, you have to start becoming aware of how you're speaking every time you speak. So my clients, my Pro 90D clients tell me, hey, guess what? I'm starting to become aware of how I'm speaking when I speak, right? So by going through the process, going through the Pro 90D program, the videos, the audios, the modeling practice, the affirmations, visualization, all those things, they all of a sudden start becoming aware in a good way of how they're speaking. Uh-oh, I'm going too fast. I need to slow down, right? Going too fast. I need to slow down. So if you set the intention, but you're not aware of how you're speaking, when you're speaking, or while you're speaking, you won't be able to slow down because it's habit. So you have to interrupt that pattern. Speaking fast, boop, I got to interrupt this and I have to do something better. I have to do something different. Or you start out speaking slower, right? But then often you'll start it out, then you'll forget about it, and then you'll go back to your old pattern, and then you'll have to say, oh, okay, I'm aware of how I'm speaking. I need to slow my speech down. So this is something that has to be done on a moment-to-moment basis. So we're talking about awareness, right? And trigger. Okay. So the next thing that you need to do on a daily basis, right? This is something you don't do once. You set that intention every single day. Make sure that you are becoming more and more aware of how you're speaking every day, all day. Then you practice speaking slower. You could say every time you open your mouth to speak, it's practice time. You're practicing. But you need to intentionally practice speaking slower. This is where modeling comes in. And in a sense, where our world famous free flow speaking exercise comes in. Okay, where you literally set aside some time each day to practice speaking the way you want to speak. Then, when you have conversations, you see them as practice. Say, I'm going to make a phone call, or I'm going to go talk to this person. And you see it as practice. I'm going to practice slowing my speech down. If you don't intentionally practice and you only rely on what we call your ambient speaking opportunities, those opportunities that are just around you every day, you're more likely to forget because those are opportunities or experiences that you are used to. And so because you're used to them, you will generally speak and respond and react and act in the same way that you usually do. So sometimes you have to intentionally go in and create speaking opportunities and experiences where you intentionally say, I'm going to do this so that I can practice, so I can speak slower. Very, very important that you remember that, right? Don't just think that you'll be able to do it automatically. You have to intentionally practice. Now, what else? When you're practicing, you're going to find those triggers. What are the triggers that you need to pull, right? That you need to click in order to cause you to slow your speech down. So I was talking with a younger client of mine, and now every week I ask her, what do you need to do physically or tell yourself that helps you speak slower? She says, yes, I am speaking slower. That's good. What do you do? What are you telling yourself? So sometimes she's trying to figure out what well, I just do it, right? But when you are doing it, like while you're doing it now, what are you thinking? Well, I'm telling myself to slow down. There you go. That's your trigger. So there's different triggers for different people. For me, for example, when I was developing my new speaking style, and I was modeling someone, it would be their hand gestures. That was one. So when I used my hands, which wasn't something I was used to doing, that triggered for me the new speaking style. When I would increase the tone of my voice, raise the tone up a little higher and inflect the way my model did. That for me was a trick. So as long as I knew I was using my hands a certain way, I was speaking with the same cadence and rhythm, or at least a similar cadence or rhythm as my model, then I was triggering that new speaking style, the smoother speaking style, the slower speaking style, right? So this is important because once you do that, once you find out what you need to say or think to yourself, okay, slow down. Some people say slowing down is not enough. They need to tell themselves to speak super slow, go super slow, and then that becomes slow enough. Or extend your words, or for some people, it's stretch, right? Stretch your words or extend your words. For some people, it's just thinking about their model, right? So there's lots of different triggers. You have to find the right one or ones for you, but you need to find the triggers so that you know what to do each and every time you speak. Does this make sense? Because if you don't know, then when you want to do it, when you want to activate it, becomes difficult. So let's see if we can. I want to bring Farouk on. Farouk, go ahead and activate your audio. See if I can hear you. Give me let me put my headphones on. See. Okay, Farouk, are you there? I think we're having an issue again with your. Yeah, I'm not able to hear you, Farouk. Your video is frozen. Okay, so we'll see if we can. Yeah. Your video is frozen. It looks like you are using your computer though. All right, we'll try to get back to you. Okay, so wanted to just go ahead and make sure that you guys understand everything that we've gone over today, and that you understand that slowing down is what can give you the biggest bang for your buck. And then some people say, well, I want to slow down, but I can't, or it's really difficult, or I don't feel like I should. And so just remember, we talked about some of the reasons why it's difficult for people to slow down, why they don't slow down. And once you understand those, then you'll know, okay, this is because of habit, and I can change the habit, or there's an external pressure. But if I want to correct my speech, then I need to resist that pressure. Or I'm having some beliefs that if I slow down, I won't be able to get my point across, or people won't listen to me. And if you're speaking dynamically, that's absolutely not true. In fact, you'll find that people will listen to you more when you speak smoother, clearer, and slower, but dynamically. So that's important. And then you understand some of the steps that you need to take. And Pro 90D obviously can help you with those steps, either through our self study or our coaching. Remember, the coaching is going to accelerate the process more, but you can also start with the self study. So let me see if we can get Farouk. Farouk, are you there? Yeah, I think having some issues. Yeah, I think your video is going to be frozen for whatever reason today. But I have to try to get you in next time. Okay. So understanding uh, why slowing down is going to give you all these benefits, understanding some of the difficulties and challenges that you absolutely will experience, most people do, and then understanding some of the steps that it's going to take you to get there, which would be setting the intention to do it. And you have to do this each and every day, becoming more aware of how you're speaking when you're speaking. If you're not aware, guaranteed you're going to be speaking the same way. And then practicing this consciously, intentionally practicing speaking slower. And then finding out what it is that you do or tell yourself to speak slower. What is it that triggers slower speech on a regular basis. Okay. All right. So hopefully this has been helpful. I don't see any chats coming in. Let's see. Farouk, we'll try once more to get you in here. Yeah, I don't think the connection's going to be strong enough for whatever reason. Okay. So here's a couple of things that we want to share with you. All right, let's do this. If it's too long for you to remember or write down, just visit our website, pro90d.com, and understand that if you're able, working with me one-on-one is the fastest way to get the smooth speech. So if you have interviews coming up, or if you're planning, I have a young lady who works for UPS. She actually just had a couple of interviews and they said, yes, you're next up in line, right? She said, hey, just working with you for a little bit really helped me. And I got a whole group of people recently got promotions and new jobs recently. So these are people who their return on investment they paid $2,000-3,000 or so, maybe even a little more, and they've gotten that back several times, many times over, and they'll continue to get back their initial investment plus a lot more. So you don't want to look at this like an expense, right? Like something that you have to pay out and you're not real sure if you're going to get that back. But if you have job interviews coming up, if you have your eye on a promotion, then you just have to look. You just have to look at the dollars and say, if I invest this much in my speech, am I more likely to get this job? Am I qualified? It's just the only thing that's stopping me is my speech, my verbal communication skills, my confidence. So if I improve this, I can get that job. If I get that job, I'm going to make this much. But I only paid this much for this personal development, for this course, for this training, but I'm going to get back this much, right? That's all you have to do. So then the only question is, do I trust this guy? Do I trust this process? Do I think that this will really work? And that only you can decide. You just have to look at the evidence, look at the reviews, search the internet, see what people say about Pro90D, see what my clients say on video about their results. You have to do the work, but this is scientifically based. It's based on neuroplasticity, habit formation, okay? Basically those two things. We do say some other things, but that's really it. Neuroplasticity, habit formation are the two main things. So the coaching is going to be your fastest way. Now, if in fact you can't do the coaching, then you may want to check out the self-study. Let's get that up here. Yeah, you may want to get the self-study. You can start with the self-study. Everything is in there that you need. Farouk, are you able to hit the chat? Like, can you put something in the chat? I don't know if you can, but if you can, go ahead and do that. So you can start with our self-study. That's a great way to start, especially if you can't afford the coaching. But just know that it generally takes people a bit longer when they're working on their own for some obvious reasons. Sometimes people will pick and choose the things that they want to do. They won't do other things, or they won't be consistent. So when you're doing the coaching and you've paid for it and you're meeting with me either weekly or bi-weekly, you're going to be generally more consistent. And I'm going to do my best to make sure you're doing everything and not just the things that you may want to do. Okay, so that's very important, that you understand your options. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and visit us at Pro90D. And then from there, you can navigate to coaching. You can navigate to the self-study. We also have Farouk, who unfortunately his video just wasn't working real well today for some reason, but he's also one of our coaches. And we do have some special pricing for those of you who may live in parts of the world where you simply cannot afford to work with me. We may be able to do some things where you can work with Farouk. And he's He's still in training, but he is now coaching people, right? So he has clients he's coaching, and they're all doing very, very well. So he's been training under me for a while now, and he's actually doing coaching himself. So you can also work with Farouk if you like, and he also speaks Urdu or Hindi and English. Okay, very good. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave it in the chat. For whatever reason, I'm not able to access the chat today, so I'm very sorry that I can't see your chats. But I will go back and I'll check YouTube. Farouk, you might be able to go and actually open up the YouTube channel and see what chats we have there. Okay. And then we'll try to respond to you guys there, and then you'll see this video recording. So I hope that this video was helpful for you. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think that it would be, and that it can be immensely helpful, because I wouldn't say that it can give you 80% or more of your results if I didn't see it time after time after time, year after year after year. So trust me, it does. I look forward to working with you, especially if you guys have important things coming up, interviews, presentations, important meetings. Get in touch with me now. Don't wait until then, because then it'll be too late. All right. So we'll see you guys soon.